Let's go, it's Mojo.
Let's go, Raquel. It's Mojo Monday, my friend. How are you?
I'm good. Doing good. It's a beautiful day. Let's make it happen.
You purposely wrote "Let's Go" into that song for that moment, right?
I did. I was saving it just for you and for the show.
I love it. Well, I am excited. This a new topic, and we're going to call it "Do You Know My Name?" And with a big fat question mark on the end of it, because it's certainly a question you always wonder. Like, I've been asked, people, I'll have somebody walk up to me and go, "Do you even know my name?" And I'm like, "Ooh, don't ask me that. I was waiting on you to reintroduce yourself to somebody, or do the old school trick of, hey, let me introduce you to my wife, or let me introduce you to so-and-so so you can rehear what their name is."
Yeah.
However, we've all done it, no judgment, right? But the question is, how do we become memorable, and how do we remember memorable people, right?
Yeah.
However, did you know? Let's go with our trivia for the week.
Yeah. How many people does the average American know by name? Like that they can identify a face and a name off the top of their head almost instantaneously.
That's crazy, because how many, we were talking about Facebook earlier, like how many Facebook followers, friends? It's in the thousands, right?
Yeah, they lock you down if you don't have a business account. I think 5,000 is the most you can have.
Yeah,
And I've been at it.
Instagram's unlimited, right?
I, I need to spend more time there. But Facebook, yeah, I have to eliminate people now to add people. So it
I've been
becomes
there.
like I have to discern. And it's funny how I have a litmus. One is how many common friends do we have is like a first step. If it's 100 or 200 or 300, they're probably inner circle in one of our companies. But if it's like three or four, then I'm like, how do I know them? And sort of the triangulation. So it's a fun process.
Well, it's a modern process of this age-old question, which is relationships, right?
So it's everything, right?
It's everything, and it's really kind of the first point in this whole conversation of, do you know my name? Is this is a relationship game, and it's certainly a relationship game in business, but it's a relationship game in life. And the quality of your life, we've heard this and we've said this multiple times. The quality of your life has everything to do with the quality of the relationships in your life. And, Rick, you and I have a relationship, and you certainly are part of the richness of the quality of my life because of my relationship with you. And yet we talk all the time. But there's lots of people we'll see once a year or once every couple years. And how do you be memorable, right? Like, how do you win in this relationship game? I'll throw that to you.
I mean, to me, it kind of comes down to being interested or interesting. So
Yeah.
part of the equation, I remember. So let's flip the script a little bit. When I think about people that I truly admire and like, they typically take an unconditional, disproportionate interest in me. And they ask good questions and they remember facts and data or can take us back in time to an experience. And that immediately brings back an emotional connection. And so when you say, how do we become more memorable? Maybe it's more important to be interested than interesting in an effort to be memorable. And so I'm getting out in front of this, but there's a whole context to this. And where this all started was you and I talking about, okay, you walk into a room with 50 people. What do you do? Like,
Yeah.
and I know we've been faced with this Chamber of Commerce and networking group meeting as homeowners association,
Holiday party, all the above,
all
right?
the above.
And there's always, it doesn't matter who you are, there's always a room you will walk into when you're the new guy or girl and don't know anybody.
Yeah.
And then there's the room you're going to walk into where you know everybody. And how do you play that game relationally so that the relationships become richer through the experience of your interaction, right? Rick, it's making me think that old Maya Angelou quote. The people will never remember what you say or do, but they'll always remember how you made them feel. And I think the context of the relationship game is not what you say and not what you do. It's the feeling, the emotion of the interaction you have with somebody in conversation, right?
Yeah, that means it's not facts and data. But we've also all been around people who were all about facts and data and self-espoused self compliments. Like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, I'm so and so. I sell 500 houses a year, or I fill in the blank all the time, or I'm the best at. And that to me, it's an immediate turnoff. I think you've got relationships are like a bank account until you've made deposits in that person's bank, and their bank being their heart, their soul, their mind. You really don't earn the right to extract or go withdraw any of that value. And so we're sitting here trying to we're dancing around the whole how do you become memorable when it's really how do you leave a lasting impression, like you said, an emotional stamp or an emotional piece of DNA that has lasting power.
Yeah. And remembering somebody's name is a way of leaving some emotional deposit with people, right? Like the not the first time, but the second time when you meet them and you say, "Hey Rick, man, it's so good to see you. How you been? I remember the conversation we had." All those things instantly pull from the emotional bank account. It's a withdrawal from the emotional ATM because you remembered them
Yep.
and you remembered the
Yep.
context of the conversation, right?
Well, I heard this said once, there's no sweeter sound than the sound of your name.
Ooh,
No sweeter sound. And
say it.
so Brett, just
Thank
want to
you.
that was a layup.
Yeah, there you go. All right.
But sometimes, I mean, I'm surprised, by the way, the data we're going to share. Did you know about how many names? I'm a little surprised that it's as high as it is, and I do know, and maybe because I just turned 60, I have an excuse. But man, I have to sometimes dig for a name and let my
Yeah.
subconscious brain go to work on it. Um,
Well, let's go there. Like remembering names is a skill.
it is a
I
skill.
think we want to believe that some people are just innately good at it. But the truth is, there's a skill set to it, right? And there's tips and
Yeah.
tricks. And I usually tell people, like, I need to meet you 3 times and before your name is locked in my brain, which I don't know that that's now that I'm sitting there thinking about it, is probably a good thing to say to somebody from an emotional bank account.
Yeah.
Yep, I know it takes me 3 times of introducing myself and you introducing yourself before it's really locked in my subconscious of who you are.
Well, I did a little research, and there's 4 key steps to remembering a name. So I'm just
Okay, let's
gonna
hit it.
let's just walk through this. One is the 5 second rule. I've heard of the 5 second rule, but usually it pertains to food that falls off the counter or table. And
The
so
binky on the
so
floor.
this is right. Is it soft food or is it hard food? Like a peanut
Yeah,
M&M, that could be next week as long as you don't
yeah,
have dirty floors. I'm kidding. So the 5 second rule in this context is when someone says their name, try not to immediately respond because a typical habit is that you would immediately be thinking about what you're going to say or how you're going to respond or maybe even give your name.
yeah,
Instead, it suggests repeating the name in your head multiple times. Brett, 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 and then go, well, nice to meet you. So, what brings you here tonight? And that's another tip, by the way. Don't immediately start talking about yourself. If it's all about how they feel, no sound sweeter than their voice and no story more important than theirs. And
yeah,
that's just the way humans are wired. And so, number one, 5 second rule: give yourself some repetitive, affirmation that you know it or redundancy. The second thing is make an effort to use their name 3 times in a conversation. So you said I have to meet. Did you say meet 3 times or just use their name 3 times?
me. I've told people I've got to meet you 3 times before your name's really locked in my brain.
Well, that gives you some latitude and margin.
Yeah,
But honestly, if you got in the habit, if we all were more intentional about remembering names, it's the greatest gift on the planet for showing sincere connection. And
yep,
so this my source says use their name 3 times in the conversation. I guess you don't want to sound cheesy or hokey or hey Brett, so why don't you Brett this and Brett that and Brett. But at the end of the meeting, if you could nice to meet you, Brett, as your first response.
Yep.
Second, during the conversation at some point, so Brett, tell me a little more about that. So
Yes.
Brett, how do you spend your weekends? So Brett, like something creative and different.
Rick,
And the
I've got a question for you.
sure, bring it on.
Yeah.
Oh, number three,
All right.
upon departure. Brett, it was just wonderful meeting you today, and I'm really excited by your trajectory with this new project, and because you've asked lots of questions, and you've probably, by the way, gone three deep. And three deep is simply the process when someone gives an answer, going, "Tell me more," or "How would that feel if you expand?" or "What if this were possible?" or "Yeah, can you elaborate? That's really cool and unique. I don't know that I know anyone that's had that experience." Or seems uncommon. Is that common? And anything that keeps the conversation flowing. The third one, by the way, I think we've all probably heard this somewhere, and I'm not very good at it yet. Attach a visual. So whatever, either rhyme, a physical feature, a color, and the examples. These are a little bit sophomoric. It may not be as easy. A Brandon or a Sarah, but like Rose, you could remember, the flower. Mike,
Sure.
like a microphone. Imagine them on stage. Sandy, connect the
beach.
dots to a beach. Like there's some are more obvious than others, but if you can create a visual connection, it makes your subconscious brain. It gives your subconscious brain a more direct path to recalling that information. It adds a layer of of being memorable. And by the way, it suggests the sillier the better. So just leave
Okay.
that there. And the third is introduce them to someone else. So if you know people in the group, it's brilliant to go, "Hey, you know what? I bet you'd really love to meet Brett, John. Let's go see Brett." And so you use their name, "Hey, John," or "Brett, this is John."
Okay.
So
So
there's the
you're,
fourth.
but what you're explaining is tips and tricks, but I want to kind of back up. I think people that are really good at this recognize it's not just a talent. There's a skill set to it, and they start to adopt habits inside of conversations. Hey, there's the thing. We teach scripts and dialogues and objection handling and all that stuff in business, but in natural conversation, you could take the same model and put some tips and habits and tricks to your conversations so that you become really good at this. And you would just
Yeah.
need to practice it, right?
Can I tell you, number one is being intentional and stop telling yourself you don't remember names.
Yeah.
You've basically told your brain not to work that hard at this, as opposed to, this is a muscle I'm building that's going to be the strongest muscle in my body, which is now my brain. And so a lot of people, I hear this all the time. I'm just not good with names. And like, because it's a skill that we don't work on, and we kind of let ourselves off the hook, even by suggesting it takes 3 meetings to remember a name.
Yep.
That was a joke. So,
Yes. I mean, here's the thing. We do self-deprecating language sometimes, right? Like we almost tell our subconscious brain that I'm not going to remember this person.
yeah,
Or not, and we dismiss it before they even tell us our name. I think we've all been there, like the social pressure of introducing yourself if you're standing in a circle with people, but you're not actually intending to remember this person, even though you're going through the exercise, right?
correct. And so
So
this, keep going.
so then the question becomes, if you actually take on the challenge of wanting to be better relationally, name remembering is the skill set that will 10x your relationship game in life more than any other skill, because you're training your brain to remember people and to be rememberable.
Yeah, well, you've given him a gift. It's the
Yeah.
sweetest sound. And
All right.
and
So there was this social media video we shared over the last week, which was this guy, Henry Blackwell, and he was talking about when you enter a room. And he said, never introduce yourself with your name first.
hmm,
And he said, most people walk into rooms, stick their hand up and said, "Hey, my name is Brett Caldwell. Hey, my name is Rick Hale." Um, he said that actually is not the best way to exude confidence, to attract people to yourselves, because that's the normal thing to do. It's not the memorable thing to do. And his first tip though, Rick, was to, when you walk into a room, to observe first before you just start walking up to people. And I kind of jokingly said, like, oh, so you go stand in the corner. I don't know how that's going to socially enhance your opportunity in the room. Yet I think it's more of a, most people socially get uncomfortable, walk into a room and look for somebody they recognize and walk straight up to them, right? Um, Yet I do think that there's some power in the confidence of walking into a room subtly and letting the room come to you instead of you go to the room. And his comment around not speaking your name, don't rush to speak, but observe. And he's saying, make sure you ask a question before you offer up your name, which I think is part of this skill set we're talking about, right, Rick?
Yeah, I mean, we're going back to how do you now become intriguing versus how do you make someone else feel intriguing? And so you to create intrigue, one is don't share everything up front and don't just reveal, don't share like a mini highlight reel, your where you went to school or what your degree is or what your even your title. I think
Yeah,
if you ask enough quality questions, that will eventually come up. And to me, step one is get your energy right so that when you do show up, you've got a self confident, calmness about you. And the others talk less, ask more. And what he also suggested in that was tell a story. And so
yeah,
if you are eventually, when the tables turn and you've kind of invested in them or made deposits, as I mentioned earlier, they're eventually going to tell me about you. And, hopefully there's enough energy in what they ask that it's an easy to go, well, the other day I was, or give an example of something that you've done as opposed to, I like fishing, have you ever fished? First, by the way, I think it's also important to get common ground. Like, do you have something that you both like? And that way the story will resonate even more.
absolutely. My brain's spinning. It's kind of going back to the days when you were single or I was single.
Yeah.
And you had this opportunity, you wanting to go meet people, obviously to date or build relationships, right? Yet the worst pickup line in the world is probably your name. Hey, my
Yeah.
name's Brett. What's your name?
The
That's
problem
probably the
is
worst pickup line,
it
right?
doesn't go anywhere.
It doesn't
That's
go
the
anywhere. But hey, what brought you here tonight? Are you enjoying the evening? Is this music speaking to you? Is this your, whatever question you could lead with in a social setting creates a deeper opportunity to be memorable, and it brings confidence to the equation, right?
Yeah, well, and from a whether it's personal or professional, it's almost irrelevant. If you really want to connect the dots, and I love what you said, it may take 3 meetings. The problem in many cases, you meet someone once and that's the end of that.
Yep.
And so if you exercise the talk less, connect more mentality, you'll eventually reveal a need and an opportunity and a reason to reconvene and reconnect and follow up and add value and make more deposits. And, that's the secret sauce.
Yeah.
Have enough context that you have a reason to reconvene and reconnect.
The third suggestion he had in that video we watched, what he said, when somebody asks you uh, to introduce yourself, like, hey, tell me your name. Who are you? Just your name is what he's saying. He said, do not give them a resume.
Yeah.
Don't give them a title. Just give them your name, because somebody of confidence, somebody of influence, somebody of character doesn't have to give a resume to who they are.
No.
And I
And it
think,
enhances intrigue. It
yeah,
creates more magnetism. Kind of goes back to you don't want to look desperate. You don't want to look like I really need a friend.
yeah,
It's like,
or a transaction or a sale, or I'm
yeah,
here with an agenda. No,
it's not sexy.
nice to meet you. So, Rick, I kind of want you to unveil our did you know because I think it's context for this whole conversation today, right? Like, can we do that first?
Yeah, and you guys can fact check us on this, but this is what the data says that the typical person, typical American has five truly intimate relationships. These are relationships that you let down your guard in every conversation. No conversation is off limits. Then 15 close friends. And so one thing you might do, by the way, as you listen, is maybe scratch this down and like, who are my five? Maybe it's three, maybe it's two, maybe it's one, maybe it's 10. But one thing's for sure, what you said earlier has real value. The quality of your life is directly correlated to the quality of the relationships you have. And how do you move people from, you know, sort of recognizable to connected at the level that they would want to continue the conversation. Five intimate, 15 close friends, 50 what they call good friends, 50 good friends. You know lots about them. You have a history. And as the longer you walk the earth, that number is probably bigger. 150 meaningful social friends.
Okay.
So that's a whole nother level of maybe you see him randomly inside of a certain group or a certain, PTA or school or sports or, some social activity, church. And then 500 recognizable relationships by face and name. 500. That's the number.
So that's telling me in a business setting, and we talk about build a database and cultivate the relationships in the database. The number 500 is a managed number for a typical human being that they could build a database to and maintain the name and face recognition relationship value of that database.
Yeah. But it probably requires following up. It probably, when I say following up, after a meeting with someone, it might mean immediately, finding a quiet space to write down a few key points that you then incorporate into your CRM and your database to make sure that the next time you have cause to pause and call them, that you can pull this information up and be truly informed. And again, nothing sweeter than people who remember you for something cool and remember your name.
I love it.
And these are all strategies to do that.
I like it. So the context in this whole thing is uh, how do we build relationships to enrich our life? Well, I think what I'm hearing us talk about, Rick, is you have to actually work on the skill set.
Yep.
There is a strategy to it. There is a language to it. There's a habit to doing it at a high level. And my suspicion is most people probably wish they had more great friends. They wish they had deeper relationships in their lives. And your best friend may always be your best friend, but a great friend might just be around the corner, or a great business contact, or a great, allied resource, or whatever it is in business. That if you work on this skill set, it could change your business, not just your life.
Yeah, 100%. And it comes back to one thing that was said early on. It's better to be interested than interesting.
Yep.
If you're interested, you're going to find an incredible connection and bond. And then at some point, you're in the right to ask for, recommendations, referrals, or people in their sphere that are like them. And I used to love this, who do you know that I should know that's like you? Because you're an amazing human being. And you can't say that with integrity if you've not gone deep or potentially had multiple meetings or experiential opportunities to get to know them at a level where that sincerity shines.
So if we're challenging our listeners, Rick, I think everybody doesn't hear the message and think, hey, I don't have enough friends. I think the question is the quality of the relationships. Do you have an opportunity to level up, improve the quality of your relationships this week? And maybe just take that question and put some action to it around, hey, I need to work on the skill set of remembering names, or hey, I need to work on the skill set of improving the conversations so that I am memorable.
Yeah. Yeah, and if 500 is your number in your database, go through the list and see how fast you can recount experiences, stories, their special interests, their family history and story, where they work, what they do. Ford, family, organization, recreation, and dreams. If you can answer even 3 out of those 4, they're probably inner circle. If you can't, it's not too late. This might be your week to start reaching out and connecting. Go, hey, I know we haven't spoken in a while. I just want you to know how important you are. I just wanted to reconnect and first apologize for not having stayed in touch. What's going on?
There you go. And there's no better day to start it than what day, sir?
That'd be Mojo Monday.
Yes, sir.
Let's be interested.
Let's go, it's Mojo. Life is best on Mojo Monday. Let's go. Yeah, I know. Set the tone and ride it all day. Mojo Monday. Fun and fired up. I'm on my way. Let's go, it's Mojo. Life is best on Mojo Monday.